I'm co-host James Ash.
And I'm co-host Phil Scaife.
Welcome to the Business Lockdown. So welcome on today's show number 21 actually, I can't even, just checked, I can't believe we're 21 shows in, is Matt Dass. Matt Dass is a friend of mine, we've known each other for a few years. Matt runs Eon Visual Media and also Springfield Solutions. So welcome on episode 21, Matt, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks James, thanks for having me on, it's a pleasure.
No, it's our pleasure. First of all, you wear two hats with your businesses. So if you can delve into your businesses for us and for our audience, I'd love to find out more, please.
Yeah, definitely, James. As you say, I've got two businesses. One is Eon Visual Media. We are a digital media production company. We produce websites, video, 2D, 3D animation, apps, and design and digital marketing. That's been running for about 30 years now in different guises. I've actually part-owned the business since 2003, and that's when it became the name that it's known now, Eon Visual Media Limited. And we work in a number of sectors, mainly healthcare. We do some work in sport, and more recently we're doing a lot of work in the food sector. And what we do in those sectors is help those businesses promote, educate, showcase their products, but also their way of working, and they try and educate people using digital media tools. So, for example, we could be developing an e-learning application that people use on their tablets, which will tell you about the benefits of using a particular product and how that combats a particular ailment, certainly in the healthcare sector. And we twin that quite nicely with our animation side of the business, which obviously explains how products work really well. So when we're talking about some complex things around healthcare, take the coronavirus for example, what that does to the body when it gets into the body, and then how those drugs stop it doing that or prevent it. We do that, a lot of that in 3D animation, so we've got a wealth and many years of experience in that, and then we combine it with our developers who then make the apps that link into CRM systems, sales systems and things like that. So they've got some quite intelligent sophistication behind them really. The way the business is structured is I 50% own the business with my business partner Steve Forster, and we have a guy called James Cherry, who I think you know, James. He sort of runs it on a day-to-day basis really, and then it's split into two halves. So we have like the web and the app development, or the techie geeky side, if you like. And then on the other side is like the creative side, which is all the 2D video, 3D animation and things like that.
Where do you fall? Where's your preference, Matt, in those two areas?
It's a really good question, that, because I trained originally as a graphic designer, and I did A-level art and things like that. So I guess I'm a creative at heart, but I think I really like technology, but not technology for technology's sake. Technology that's beneficial, I think, is the main thing that improves life, I think. So I do love gadgets, I do love tech. I'm not so good in terms of programming languages and the guts behind it, but I do love things that just work seamlessly and perhaps change people's behaviors as well, in terms of the way that they operate, and helps them operate more efficiently, I guess. So I've got a foot sort of in both camps, but I think predominantly I guess I'm a creative, artistic person at heart, I think. That's my missus, she'd tell you.
And what's your favourite project that sticks out that you've worked on over the years in Eon Visual Media?
There's been some funny ones. We had to animate a a 3D erect penis for Durex, so that was quite
Right, okay.
that was quite fun because they were bringing out a new product which I don't I don't know what the proper word is, but it's a blood flow restrictor, known as a cock ring, I suppose. So
Did you grab hold of that project with both hands, Matt? Was it literally like? How does something like that? How do you get a project like that? I mean, does it go out to tender? You meet it? Is it through contacts that you've worked with? You know, how does something like that come into your business?
Yeah, I mean, we've worked with the Durex team for quite some time, really. So we've been working with Reckitt, RB Reckitt Benckiser for over 20 odd years now, probably 25 years. They're literally across the road from where we're at. We're a 5-minute walk from their office, and I guess it's just, you know, we've developed that relationship over the years, and we have innovation days with those guys there, and we go in and we show them the latest technology, and we've just built and grown that client base within RB, really. So when the 3D project came along, they came knocking. I think they had asked a couple of other people as well, but I think because of our understanding of the product range in particular, not personally, may I add, scientifically. Yeah, they came along and we had, it was a brilliant Friday afternoon meeting. You know, one of them meetings that you want to have on a Friday afternoon where you could almost crack the beers open type of thing. It was one of them. And we got this big projection screen on our wall at the offices, and they'd obviously done the research, and this woman was presenting this thing, and she pulled up some similar videos and animation that she'd got, and our screen's like 6 foot by 8 foot or whatever. So there's this massive erect penis, and she's like keeping a straight face behind it, and there's me and Lottie going.
It's probably good you did have some beers in hand at that point.
Oh yeah, I know. So yeah, so that's one that probably stands out for a number of reasons. But I mean, many moons ago, I worked on a massive project for Burger King, which was great. It was
that in the States? Was that in America and Canada, was it, or was it just the States?
Yeah, well, it was a global project, but it was actually done out of Miami because that's where their headquarters were. So everything was filmed and produced in Miami. So the project was probably about a 2 or 3 year project, and it was to develop all of their training tools on DVD globally. So if you was an employee of Burger King, instead of getting somebody to come and show you how to put your Whopper together, sort of leads on from Durex, this, doesn't it?
I was just going to say, there's a running theme here, Matt. There is a running theme here.
Yeah. So if you wanted to find out how to put your Whopper together, you would use one of our DVDs that we'd produced, and we'd filmed it all in Miami, and then we'd done the programming back here in Hull, and they got shipped literally to sort of, I think they had about 12,000 restaurants across the world, and they was translated into all of those different languages. And that was the beauty of using DVD, because you could select the region you was in, and select the language you was in, and the content tailored to that particular region. So, silly thing, but for example, in the UK, we only have 1 tomato in our Whopper. In the States, they have 2 tomatoes. So there's all those regional variations. But using the technology behind DVD, you could jump out and just pick up that little bit of content that was different from the main strand of content. So
right.
That's why we chose to develop it in that. So that was a big project. It involved a lot of traveling. I guess it was my first real big, you know, it was over $1 million, the actual project itself. So it was my first real massive project that I was sort of running, and I sort of inherited it a little bit off the previous multimedia manager at the time. So that stands out as a big project, and something that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the travel and working with the film crews and getting my head around and cutting my teeth really on such a big project. So that was a great experience, really.
Did you experience some really positive kickbacks on that project once it's, were the connections, links in similar industries? Or, I mean, I imagine to be able to showcase that level of project as well wouldn't do you any harm.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting business case, really. And I guess it's an interesting business case on how not to do things, because what we experienced with Burger King was that it was all consuming. So it kind of took us over. Do you know what I mean? And without properly having a step back and a proper business head on, we just got, big name, massive project, award winning, winning awards off the back of it. Wow, this is fantastic. Allowing us to invest in equipment, invest in people for 2 or 3 years. It was great, but we was in it and we didn't see the bigger picture, because when Burger King took it in-house, that was 85-90% of all of our work. So it was like, shit, what do we do now? Yeah.
So what did you do? What did you do, and how long was that process between realizing that it either was going to drop off, or did it drop off and then you realized? How did that look?
Yeah. What we'd done was, when we'd got wind of them looking to bring it in house, because there was buying their own kit, and there was asking questions that sort of it got us thinking. This looks like it'll be taken in house at some point. Didn't give us a time frame, but it looked like that's where it was going. We managed to sign a contract extension for 6 months. So it gave us a little bit of breathing space and income for 6 months.
Right, okay.
At that point, we thought we really need to start doing something about this, because we recognised the fact that we'd forgotten about our core and I guess more local businesses. So we brought somebody in specifically to sort of work on business development before the end of that contract, sort of at the beginning of that 6 month period, and we used the might and the weight of the stuff that we've done from Burger King to create all of our promotional material and marketing, if you like. So we've just done this award-winning DVD, global, innovative projects. Come and work with us because we can, that type of thing, really. And that, fortunately, allowed us to start discussions up again with people who we'd, I guess, quite honestly, sort of neglected while we'd been focusing on the beast, and they was very receptive to talking to us again and opening up those relationships again, and allowing us to show them what we'd done and how they could implement some of those learnings into their materials and their digital marketing content and things like that. So, I mean, we're talking probably, what are we now, 2020? So it was that was probably 15, 16 years ago. So that it was at that point where we thought we needed that impetus. And what we did was, the business sort of scaled back a bit when Burger King went, but it built gradually. So we had people that was on contracts specifically to the project itself. So we was allowed to sort of flex, if you see what I mean. So a lot of those people went when the Burger King stuff went, but we kept the core set of people. And then as and when we developed the other customers and the other projects, that gradually built back up again. So it didn't all just disappear overnight, thank goodness. But we did recognise that we probably don't want to be in that situation ever again, where we're putting all of our eggs in one basket. It's a really precarious place to be. It's something that I think everybody should be mindful of, really.
It's a great example. I had that when I had the fashion business, and we were approached by Topshop, and it was to go down went down to Oxford Street to the headquarters, and they were interested in us putting our brand and our collection in their main store. And at first you're like, this is brilliant. This is exactly what we want to do. Topshop, huge brand, everybody knows. And then when you worked it out, you had a railing, and then they would take like 37.5%. And then you had to provide a staff member and pay them to man one 6-foot rail. So you've got that. And then when you worked it out, so you're like, right, actually, this is a pure marketing exercise. But I was fortunate at the time when we looked at it and we were aware that it would just sap all of our resources, and we weren't able to do that on a pure marketing. So it's great having that marketing exposure and the power of that, but not if it saps up all of your resources. You know, you've got to, like you were saying, you've got to make sure you continue moving and progressing. And the other thing as well we found, which we had some really good key people around us who'd experienced with some bigger brands before, is that we'd spent, you know, a good 2 years, 3 years building up our independence in different cities. And what, you know, if it all went well with Topshop, then they roll you out into different cities. And then your brand is now as a competitor to your independence. So you lose your independence. And then when the next big thing comes along, then Topshop drop you and you're left with neither. And so we learned that valuable lesson before actually making that decision. And it's a really important lesson. Please, you brought that up for people out there, because it is, that's like, you know, you almost feel like you're pinching yourself, don't you? That it's the ultimate. Yeah. But you've got to learn from that experience, and it seems that it was great, and that you were able to flex in such a way must have been so crucial, rather than be like, right, okay, we're chasing the next contact or client that would be at that size, which, you know, would be, I'd imagine, many sleepless nights and headaches and the pressure in a team of that size.
Yeah, I mean, we went through all of that, James. You know, there was a time when you thought, you know, is there going to be a business there? You know, because it is that big of a beast that's all consuming. You know, so fortunately we spotted it just in time and managed to do something about it. Thank goodness. You know, so we did manage to get out the other side of it. But I think the other thing that I know we'll get onto that at some point, but you know, with all the thing around the coronavirus at the moment, I was thinking the other day about which business is bulletproof. You know, when it comes to something like this, you know, which business is bulletproof, because it affects everybody, doesn't it? You know, and you think about how you can try and protect yourself against, you know, this doomsday scenario. And it's, for me, what I found in my other business in Springfield is that spread of work, and that being involved with different sectors is really helping, you know, to mitigate some of that, because some markets have gone like that and some markets have gone like that. So for example, we've got a customer that we supply printed labels into all of their restaurants. So, and
this is Springfield Solutions.
Yeah. This is Springfield. Sorry. So we supply printed labels that go on sauces mainly into restaurants. So that business has gone overnight, finished. Yeah, because the restaurants are shut. Nobody's using the sauces. It's gone. But then we've got another customer who makes hand sanitizer. So that has gone through the roof, because people can't buy enough hand sanitizer. So it's you know, it's really got me thinking these last 3 or 4 weeks about how you protect your business going forward, and taking the learnings from what's happening now, in particular, into your strategy and how you use that to look at the markets that you're in, really. So that's been a current learning.
What you know, approximate what kind of growth has that business seen? I mean, hand sanitizer has never been needed so much, you know, ever really. What, you know, as a percentage, how has that increased?
I haven't done the actual analysis in terms of you know, what it was like this time last year versus what it's like now. But I can just tell you that there's 400,000 labels, hand sanitizer labels, going out today, for example, and that's a daily occurrence. So it's just, I mean, we can't print enough labels, they can't make enough of it. It's at the minute, it's phenomenal, really. It really is. I mean, that, and we provide cleaning labels that go onto cleaning products that are being used in all the hospitals. So it's having a massive effect on Springfield, really. you want me to just go into the Springfield bit?
Yeah, well, I just before we do so, I'm just curious on, so how does that look in the business? Because you've just said you can't print enough. So how does that look in terms of being able to still run your business safely and efficiently with that in mind?
Yeah, well, we obviously we're operating in line with the government guidance, which is using the social distancing. We've got all of the hand sanitizer stations. We've got all the hand washing stations. We've got a level of PPE equipment in terms of gloves. We've not gone to the face masks yet. We have the floor markings, so people know what 2 meters is away. We've got digital signage around the building. We've got pop-ups around the building. So there's a reminder around every corner that you go around. We've opened up areas where people are now working from home. We've opened them up for canteen areas, for example, so that you're not sat next to each other when you're having meals and things like that. So we've had to adapt quickly, obviously, as all businesses have that have continued to operate. And it seems to be running well, touch wood, we've not seen a dramatic impact yet on the business in terms of the Springfield side. With Eon, it's slightly different because all those guys have been able to work from home. So that's happened pretty much since day one of lockdown. They've all gone home and they're all starting to work from home. Have started. Whereas here, where we're printing a physical thing that's a piece of equipment that's bigger than the room I'm sat in, and you can't do that. You need reels of paper, and you just can't do that at home. So on the scale of what we're doing it, so yeah, we've had to adapt and adjust. But where people can work from home, they have. But our printers, for example, and our logistics people that are shipping the labels out that are going into these key industries are all still coming into work, still on site, and are now recognised as key workers due to the fact that they're supplying into the NHS, the British Army, the homeless helpers. We've just done some labels that have gone onto the oxygen tanks that they're using in NHS Nightingale, for example. So yeah, so the products that we're supplying the packaging for are getting used on the front line, basically. So that's obviously part of a key. And the other side, I've just dropped off. I've just come from the Aura Centre at the University of Hull. I've just dropped off our first batch of 3D printed head visors. So we've been 3D printing them as well.
Right. Okay. And is that which business is that with? Is that design concepts and everything through Eon, and then Springfield are the printers of that? So is that how that process works?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're spot on.
Awesome.
Yeah, because the print equipment sits within Springfield, but the design team sit within Eon. So that, exactly that.
And so is that? Am I right in guessing that's where Springfield was born? If you're doing all of this work with Eon and you're sending it out to printers and stuff, and once you get to a certain point, does it just make sense that why don't we create our own printing company?
No.
I was on a roll as well. I was on a roll.
No, Springfield's been going since 1975. I know.
Right,
I don't look that old. Anyway. I'm actually 73.
I'm saying nothing. So give us a little bit of a background into that business, and is that something you bought into, you took over, you became a partner with it?
No, it's my dad's company. My dad founded Springfield in 1975, which, believe it or not, was actually a year before I was born. And he trained as a printer, so he worked for a company called Metal Box, which was based in Hull, and they printed directly onto metal sheets that were used for the likes of whiskey tins, for paint tins, those types of things. And it was quite a manual, quite a tough job. He actually got the job because my grandma, his mum, was the forewoman at the plant, and my dad didn't do very well at school. He's dyslexic. So my grandma was obviously a little bit concerned about him, how's he going to get a job type of thing. And she pinched the results of the apprenticeship exam to get into the business, and brought it home. He revised them. He went in and he got a job as an apprentice, working as an apprentice printer. That's how he got the job. So he worked there, and he worked there for a good few years, learnt his craft, learnt his trade, but then spotted a gap in the market, which was around a proofing service. So what they was doing is they was printing millions and millions and millions of sheets of flat metal that was being formed into these cans and whiskey tins and all that stuff. And then the customer would come and they'd go, that's not the right blue. Why have you used the wrong blue colour on that? So that was 1 million sheets in the bin. Oh, shit, that's a lot of money. Or there's some text that's not quite right on there. So my dad had obviously worked in this, and he spotted a gap in the market for creating a proofing service. So he invested in a proofing machine, and not like now. You send a print to your printer and have a look at it and make sure it's all right, and do what you can do now. Obviously, that wasn't around back in the early 70s. So he invested in this proofing machine, which was roughly twice as much as the cost of the house that they were living in. So he had to put up the full value of the house against the proofing press. So it took some balls to be able to make that decision. I've got 2 older sisters, so my mum was at home, 2 kids at home, and I was on the way. So it was like, talk about going, all
going
in.
for it, all in.
So Springfield is all down to my dad taking that risk and working his balls off as well to make it work, because he went through some tough times and he built the business up, and he started proofing magazine adverts initially. So it was so people that were paying a lot of money to take an advert out in Time Life magazine, for example, they didn't want to get to this print run and see it was the wrong colour or whatever. So he'd proof them out and he'd charge a premium, and that's how the business got started. And then because he'd worked in packaging previously through the metal decorating, he saw a niche developing for packaging proofing. So showing what your packaging is going to look like when you send it to the likes of a metal box or a big printer. I can do all the proofing for you, and we can create the artwork and do all that. So that's how the business got going and started evolving by specialising in that proofing service and doing and really being innovative in that field. So Springfield, we were one of the first to start using computers to create packaging artworks. So before Apple Macs came along, we invested in a system called Purup, which was a Danish system, which was a bespoke system that allowed you to start. It's like a very early days of Photoshop and Illustrator and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was, but they wasn't around at the time. But then obviously when the Macs came out, I think we were one of the first companies in Europe to get an Apple Mac and started to develop desktop publishing, as you're more than aware of, James, and that's when the business really started to take off in terms of providing a reprographic service for packaging customers. So yeah, we work with lots of well-known brands now in packaging, not only in terms of their proofing, so making sure that their artworks are going to look right when they get sent to the printers, but then we actually print self-adhesive labels that go onto packaging as well. But everything we do is done digitally, so we don't use any old methods of printing. Everything we do, our full process is digital from start to finish, and that's our USP, if you like. So that allows us to be more efficient. It allows us to turn things around faster. It allows people to customize, personalize any piece of packaging that they want to. So we've got, it's in our blood. This digital is in our blood, and that's the way that we're going, and the way that will remain, for the future, really. So.
Did Springfield provide your first job? Did that replace the paper round as a 13, 14 year old version of yourself?
How did you guess?
I was thinking, right, I'm going to have a go at this again and see if I can get back on my roll. But yeah, what was that? I guess that was
Yeah,
inevitable, right? That
yeah. So
you were going to.
I've been coming to work since I was about 12, really, and
Wow.
that's been because I was a bit of a lad and a bit of a bad lad. I used to get into a few scrapes and a bit of trouble, so I used to have to work for nothing in the summer holidays just to pay off all, pay off all the police fines. It's true.
Wow. Okay, interesting.
So yeah, I've been coming in, yeah, ever since I can remember, really, and it's actually how I met my wife. So my wife started as a 17-year-old apprentice working for Springfield, and I was coming in. So she's a couple of years older than me, and I was like a 15-year-old lad coming in on a summer holidays doing work, and that's how we first met. We didn't get together when I was 15, but that's how we first met. We got together after that, but that's how we met.
Wow. Matt, curious on the inside of things. Something I'd like to ask is, because you said that you've got the website kind of, you provide websites, and then you've got AR and VR. Now, on the face of that, it seems like we're seeing a decline in just who are pure website developers, and with the likes of Wix now, where you can pay £8 a month to have your website, and you can set it up. There's tools there to create a website yourself. Have you seen a real decline over the past few years in the website stuff? And then with that in mind, because the app side, the VR, AR side of things, has that just rocketed?
Yeah, I get. Yeah, it has. Yeah, no, you're spot on there in terms of the way that you can now build websites yourself quite effectively, efficiently, cheaply. This template-driven approach is, WordPress, Wix, whatever, it has sort of eaten into the sort of a website designer, developer, whatever you want to call it, business. But I think what we've always done as a website developer is we've not really gone after the business where, what you'd call I guess a brochure website or something that showcases your business. We've always been more about integration in terms of how usability. Going back to what I said earlier about myself, really, let's not use technology for technology's sake. Let's make it do something that's going to add value to your business. And I think that's the way that we've always tried to approach web development is, you can have this all singing, all dancing, but what's it going to do for you? Is it going to link to your e-commerce platform? Is it going to be able to link to your CRM system so that you know who you spoke to, when you spoke to them? Is it going to give you the right intelligence in terms of selling the right products to the right people? So we've always approached web projects with that in mind, and we haven't really chased as much the I guess what I call a standard website build, and I know that's been very I guess disrespectful in some ways to website build, but it's always been about what will it do, what are the benefits of having it, and that's the question that we always ask. And often customers will come to us and say they want a website, and we'll say, well, no, actually, you just need sort of digital marketing campaign and social media presence, or you need a video that explains what this product does, and so we will often dissuade people from thinking that that's what they need. So there has been a decline in general web work, but my point is that from an Eon point of view, we wouldn't necessarily attack it from that side anyway. We would attack it more from what's it going to do, what are the benefits, and what's the inspiration. I think the AR stuff and the VR stuff has been really interesting, and it's interesting that you make the point about the template-driven approach of website build, because AR will go exactly the same way as will VR.
Right.
Because
how many years? If you were a betting man, if you're a gambling man,
it's nearly here. Well,
right.
It is here. There's a product called Adobe Aero that's out now. If you've got a 3D asset, you download their app, you import it into their app. You've done your AR app. It's here. It's already here in terms of being able to showcase things in augmented reality. But going back to the creative side, you need them assets and you need that 3D experience. You need the Unity programmers. You need the 3D developers. You can't get away from the fact that you need a combination of both. You need your techie geeks, but you also need your creatives, because ultimately they're gonna help you with user experience, with actually the immersion and the engagement in terms of the content and how people engage with it. So you need those two. But yeah, it's interesting that you make that statement about websites, coming down, because they're all template driven now, and that's why we've always got to keep an eye on what's coming next. What's the next thing?
Yeah.
Because if same as the Burger King story, if we've got all our eggs in AR, and then Adobe come out with a product that just wipes us off the face, then we'll bug it out. So it's understanding those technologies and understanding where we fit from a content producer point of view. And I think that's why, I explained at the beginning that Eon is a digital media producer. So we create digital media content. Now that might be an augmented reality app, but you need some engaging content that sits behind that.
Right.
So you might not use the dev tools that the developers will do, but you use our 3D animators and the Unity people. So it's that balance, digital media content production, and it's both of those things really.
Awesome. Well, we're friends on Facebook, and it seems you're always out running. And I know you've done a number of charity runs with a friend of ours, Paul Spence, who's got Paul for brain injury. Is it Paul for brain injury or Paul for brain recovery?
Paul for brain recovery.
Paul for brain recovery. Paul Spence. We've got him on the show this week, so
yeah.
I can't. Well, I gave him a call. It's been a while since I spoke to him, and he asked how I'd been, and I kind of in a nutshell. And then I said, normally I'd catch up with you. I'd ask you the same, but I don't want to do that out now because I want to find out, when you're on the show, so it'll be authentic. But to give us a bit of insight into that, because we spoke the other day and the importance of exercise and you going out for runs for your mental well-being. So you talk to us about that and some of the runs that you've been on, because I know you've been in some weird and wonderful places.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, ever since a young age, I've always enjoyed exercise, and if being completely honest, I think that's probably the career path that I'd wanted to go down if I was ever good enough. I'd love to have been a professional sports person in some way. So because I was just mad on sport, and I still am really. I just love watching it. I love taking part in it, and I guess that kind of came from my dad as well. Quite a lot. He used to take me to watch Rovers and rugby and stuff like that. So yeah, I've always enjoyed it. I've always loved it. But I guess what happens when you get to 18, 19 and you start meeting girls and you start maybe drinking a bit too much and enjoying yourself a bit too much, you forget about those things that you really loved, and you go off down a slightly different path, don't you? And I certainly neglected my health and my mental well-being for a good few years when I was out drinking with the lads and probably doing things that we shouldn't necessarily have been doing, and all that stuff. So you kind of forget that, and then you sort of, sounds like I'm going for a right midlife crisis, doesn't it? But you sort of rediscover yourself at some point along the journey, don't you? So I got to like early 30s, and I sort of, we moved to a remote, well, not that remote, but just a village on the outskirts of Hull, and every year they had a 10k race, a 10k running race. And first year we was there, I said to my wife, I said, I'm going to run that next year. It's a bit of a goal for me. I'll run that next year. Second year came around, I saw the signs, went, definitely going to do that next year. I'll definitely do that next year. And then the third year came around, and she didn't say anything to me until the third year. And she said, I said, next year I'm going to do that. She said, do you know, that's 3 years in a row you've said that. You either start doing what you say or just don't say it. So I said, do you know what? You've got a bloody great point there. Why talk about something if you're not if you're not going to do it. So that was a red flag. That I was like, I was running that night. You know, I was like, right,
Oh, really?
I'll show you. So that's what kick-started it really. My missus, and because I've never really been into running. I must admit, I was never that mad keen on it. But my goal was to run this 10K, and I trained, and I'm quite an obsessive person, you know, quite an obsessive nature, and realised the amount of benefit I was getting from it just mentally, and how good I was feeling, and thought, God, this is good, you know. And I guess it becomes like a bit of a drug really, and a release. And yeah, it just went on from there. I did the 10K, and then after I did the 10K, I was lucky enough to get accepted to run the Great North Run, which is the half marathon up in Newcastle way there. So I did that, and I thought, right, half marathon, next thing, marathon. So did the Manchester Marathon as my first ever marathon, and then it just went on from there. My life is now around 3 to 4 month training programs.
I saw it. You put a picture up of your training program, and I looked at that and I thought, that's beyond my ability of to be able to focus and stuff like. You had it so structured, and it's like
quite anal with stuff like that. You know, if I get that goal, you know, that challenge like the wife put down, Christina, then I've got to get there, and my way of dealing with that is to sort of put some kind of structure to it, you know, and then I guess in some way I'll beat myself up if I don't do it, you know, and I guess mentally it's a mental challenge, not only the running, but the fact that you've got to get up. So this morning I was up at 5:30, I did 8 miles, you know, and like last night I'm thinking, I should be in bed now, you know, I should be in bed, I've got to get up at 5:30, and it's that whole mental thing that. And in a way, you're dreading it. It's like torture a little bit. And then, as I'm running back down my drive this morning after doing 8 miles, I'm like, ready to take on the world now. I'm ready to take on the world, and it just gives you that release, I guess. And met Paul through a mutual friend. Was introduced to the great work that he's been doing with his charity, and his story is fascinating, and you'll obviously hear all about that next week. So yeah, and we just hit it off straight away. You know, we just got on. We was from the same area in Hull originally, and yeah, just you know, it was like we've known each other all our lives really. It was just, we just became really close almost instantly, and he had a passion for running and challenges, and we used to bounce that off each other. So he got the opportunity to run the New York Marathon. He said, "Do you want to do it with me?" I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to do a New York Marathon." And then our mutual friend, he came along as well, and we just had the time of our lives. You know, it was brilliant. It was one of the best experiences of my life, really, just running that marathon and spending time with the boys, and a bit of release at the end of it, and it was great. So we made a vow to each other that we would run the 6 majors, which are New York, Chicago, Boston, London, Berlin, and Tokyo. So we're sort of, how many left have we got to do? I think we're four in, and we've got Tokyo, and I've got London to do, but them two have got Boston to do. So I'm going to miss out on the Boston one, but they're going to do Boston first. I'm going to do London this year, hopefully, and then we're all going to finish in Tokyo next year.
Wow.
It's going to be awesome. So we're really looking forward to that. So yeah, it's great. And mentally, I think, we were talking about it before, weren't we, James, about how that release, everybody needs some release, and whether that's playing golf, whether it's baking, cooking, walking the dog, whatever it may be, I think it's so important for our mental health and our mental well-being that we have that release. And, like we spoke about, there are other releases which, you don't want to go down those paths. You want to stay on the healthy ones as much as you can. And I think it's so important, especially in business, when you need a clear head, and you've been at your desk 7-8 hours a day, and you need some space, whether that's in the middle of the day or at the end of the day or before the day starts. I generally like to do all my exercise before I get to work because I see it as a bit of a challenge. I think if I can get this done, there's nothing during the day that is going to be harder than what I'm doing now. So there is nothing that's going to stop me. So that's the way I see it. And then sometimes I like to break my day up because I'm a morning person. So I have my exercise, and then I'm on it. I can go right through till about 2:00, and then I just crash. I might as well be at home in bed because I'm just like, I'm just more or less useless. But I stick at it, and I end up going home about 6, half 6-ish on a night, something like that. But what I've started to do is on a lunchtime have a break in the day. So I might go for a swim, I might just go for a walk, I might go to the cafe, I might do something that's non-work related, so that I can just recharge them batteries a little bit to see me through the afternoon. I'm not as good in the afternoon. I can't perform like I can perform in the morning and the afternoon, but it just helps break my day up, I guess. You know what I mean? It just helps me a little bit. So yeah, definitely a morning person. If I need to do it in terms of work-wise, let's get it done in the morning.
I'm with you on that. There's always, at the end of the day, there's always an email that comes through that's more important than going to the gym or going for a run. You haven't got the same energy levels. Both of us are in the same with that you don't have the same energy levels at the end of the day. So now I'm with you on that. Is get your exercise. When I'm properly training, I'm 6 a.m. Either getting up at 6 or at the gym at 6, and then you can just be thinking about the day ahead. And I often find myself making notes on my phone. So when I come out of that, and I'm with my team, I'm ahead of the game, and I'm just clear. I've got loads of clarity for the day ahead. So, yeah, that's massive for me, right? But as we wrap up, where can people find you?
Yeah, well, we've got obviously both our websites, eon-media.com, which is the Eon website, and springfieldsolutions.co.uk is the Springfield one. But we are also on Twitter at Eon Media, at Springfield Souls, I think it is, Instagram, also LinkedIn. If you just search for either Eon Visual Media or Springfield Solutions, you should find us there. So give us a follow. And I'm just at Matt Das if people want to. I'm up to. It's a bit boring, really, isn't it? It's just about running and cooking and stuff like that.
I like watching from afar. I like. It makes me smile watching from afar. I've done a couple of half marathons, and one being Paul's half marathon, and never. Yeah, I think my knees for the 3 months after were just like, when they let me know that they'd done a half marathon and made me aware I shouldn't maybe do one again. So I'll watch from afar, mate, and give you a big thumbs up from a distance. But Crackett, thanks for being on the show and offering the value you have. It's been great learning about your business and more about you as a mate as well. So take care of yourself, won't you?
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
Mate. That's great. Cheers, bud. See you soon.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Business Lockdown.
Please comment, like, share and subscribe to help build our global community.
We look forward to seeing you all soon.